Development Center out of Southern Arkansas University. I know a lot of y'all are with bigger companies, but if anybody ever has a small business idea or anything like that, we help with business plans, market research, all that kind of thing. We help people get started out. And we also do a lot of free trainings. So that's what this is. So Mia Hyman is our presenter today. She's the Director of Marketing and Sales for the Burgundy Hotel, Tapestry Collection by Hilton, and the on-site award-winning restaurant Table 28. She's from Gulfport, Mississippi, and believes that how one interacts with guests and clients is the most significant factor in ensuring they have a stress-free and memorable experience. In addition to being Director of Marketing and Sales at the Burgundy Hotel, Mia is also the wedding sales specialist for one of the hotel's sister properties, Aloft Little Rock West by Marriott. She holds an Associate of Arts, a Bachelor's in Marketing, and a Master's degree in Business Administration from SAU. She has many academic accomplishments, including being the first recipient of the Greek Student Leader of the Year Award at SAU's Greek Lab. So I'm going to let Mia go ahead and get started.
Stop it. You guys are too nice. No, but really thank you guys for having me today. Like Florence said, I graduated from SAU, got all three of my degrees from them. I'm kind of like a baby. I'm 26 years old. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there and put that on the table. So I'm very young for my position, kind of where I am today, but I've also worked very hard to get there. And I'll tell you a little bit about that as well, just kind of my transition from being on the front desk team to go on to the management team and things I've had to learn and things that have helped me out in different resources and things like that. Like I said, I'll leave time at the end for questions, but if you have any in the meantime, please feel free to stop me, especially if I need to clarify or if you feel like you might not remember something at the end. So, like Florence said, I graduated from SAU in 2017 with my bachelor's and started on my master's. And at that point, I moved back to Little Rock and I started hosting at the restaurant Table 28. Worked my way up from there. I'm one of those people that they say, work from the bottom all the way up. I started hosting with them, but I started doing more than just like answering the phone and taking reservations. I started keeping like lists and databases of like the guests who would come to our wine dinners and our vegan dinners. So every time we had that event again, we call them and be like, hey, we're having this event. We want to give you this information, and they loved it. It also helped the restaurant as well. Just different things. I went above and beyond my typical job roles and responsibilities, but I also tell people, especially around my age and generation, because everyone has so many crappy things to say about millennials, that in order to, it's true, they always talk crap about millennials. But anytime you want to advance, a lot of times you have to show management that you want that position. You have to show them that you're capable of doing those responsibilities before they would actually give it to you. You can't have the mindset that I'm going to stick to my pay grade and only do this. Like, that doesn't work if you want to actually grow and advance in your career. And that's true with almost anything, and it really is realistic, because a lot of time management, they don't know what you want unless you tell them. And we're going to get into communication as well. So I was hosting with the restaurant, then I started working the front desk just part-time because I was hosting part-time as well. I never worked in the hotel before. This was about July of 2018. Yeah, never worked in a hotel or anything before, so started working the desk, just learning, being me. I don't like to be bored, so I just started to do all types of things. I like to be organized, so I just, once again, started going above and beyond my typical role and just doing things, helping out management in different ways and just stuff like that. And our property owner, because we're independently owned, our owners are local, like literally his office was around the corner from our hotel. You can walk to it. I know their address. That's how local that they are. It's kind of like a mom and pop hotel. And so like he would keep his eye on me, and every now and then he'd be like, I see you. I want to keep you around. Just wait, because I was working on my master's at the time. Long story short, once I graduated with my master's, he promoted me instantly. Like the week I came back from graduating from SAU, he was like, all right, you're not going to be on the front desk anymore. We're going to have you working in the office. I'm like, okay, that's what's up. I love it. I love to see it. But at the same time, there's zero training for my position, because the person who left, like, they left. They didn't say, hey, leave her a manual or come back and show her this. It was just, nope, you learn on your own. But thankfully, Hilton had a whole bunch of resources and stuff online. And as anyone who wants to be a good team member, you should always be willing to learn, especially to be on the management team. To grow and advance anywhere, you have to have knowledge. The more you know, the better off you are, the higher you can excel and the higher you can exceed. So, started working, doing the sales, coordinating, and everything like that. COVID hits in 2020. Oh my gosh. I think everyone pretty much knows that the hotel industry took a very big hit because nobody traveled. A lot of hotels closed their doors. But thankfully, our hotel owners, being independent, they chose to keep the doors open just to try to provide some sort of income to its employees and everything like that. In addition to that, we didn't have a hotel manager. So I had to step up and be the manager and director of sales, and sometimes work the front desk because a lot of people weren't working, and there was a big thing with turnover. So I had to wear a lot of hats, but it also showed my owners that I'm very loyal to my job and them, and that I'm very passionate. Once I kind of made that transition from front desk to management, it was hard. It was very, very, very tough. A lot of people think that just because I'm young and successful, like everything comes easy. That is a lie. And there are so many different factors. Like, first, I'm young. Second, I'm a woman. And then third, I'm African American. So there's so many different barriers with each one that comes with that type of promotion, and especially like the restaurant staff, they're used to being like kind of on my same scale because I was a hostess. Then I jumped up to management. So a lot of the servers were just like, they felt some type of way that I had more authority than them, or that, I was calling out their problems and things like that because that I can do that now. But some people, they don't take change easily, but I like to think that if you feel a certain type of way on someone coming in to do their job, then you're intimidated because you must not be doing something right, and you feel like they're going to call you on your smoke and mirrors. But that's not always the case. It's not always the case. But a lot of times with my younger generation, I'm very different. I'm going ahead and put that out. I'm very different than the millennials. I'm a one of a kind. So I'm going to say them and y'all when I reference them. So anyway, being on management, one of the first things I had to learn is that there's no such thing as separating business from personal. Once I graduated from college, you have all the textbook knowledge, but you don't have the experience knowledge, and that's a completely different thing. So I learned in one of my classes that technically being a good manager is, fulfilling two things. One, your employees, the staff, they know what's expected of them and what their goals are. And two, you as a manager have given them the resources they need in order to complete that job. I'm like, if you can do those two things, it's easy, cakewalk. No, that was not the story at all. I had to lose that mindset very, very quickly. Going from sales to operations and like having to do the schedule, having to listen to everyone and seeing how much their personal life really does affect them. Because they always say, once you get to work, leave your personal life at the door, leave that baggage at the door. You can't always do that. We're human, we're people, we feel and stuff. No matter what happens, sometimes, you can put on a smile, but sometimes it's tough. You just can't. Sometimes you just let the negativity wins, and it's okay, because I always tell people, encourage them to feel their feels. So but it has to be up to you as a manager to be understanding for that, whether you need to let them go home for the day, you finish your shift, sit down talking about it. I mean, whatever they need, you have to make sure that they feel comfortable at work. In order for your employees to feel valued and to feel safe, I always tell people you have to build that loyalty and show them that you care about them and that you actually invest in them. And once you show them that you're investing in them, they'll invest in you as well. You want people who want to come to work because they want to come to work, like they're excited to come to work and they want to invest in your business as well. Because you're, like in the hotel, our guests, they know. If our front desk agents are so happy and they're checking them in with a great attitude, they're always like, man, you guys must love working here. Like, it must be a great environment. And we're like, yeah, and we always say we work for pretty great people too, because they take good care of us and they show their appreciation. But back to the business and the feelings. Yes, I had to learn very, very quickly that sometimes you have to listen to those problems, and that's where I can fall short sometimes because I'm so business mindset. I'm like, yeah, I understand that, but, you know, I feel you, but, and you can't always do that. You can't always throw a but in there. Your employees, they want to know that you're listening to them, and that's very important. That's two parts of communication, you know, speaking to them and also listening to them. Because if you don't listen to them when they're trying to tell you their needs, their wants, why should they listen to you? Like, there's not going to be any respect there. Feedback is very important. My dad always taught us to learn to take constructive criticism. And it's just like when you're training someone. We always say on our property, we don't know if you're learning unless you ask questions. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, you want to get all of that out there. You want to cover all of your bases. You want them, most importantly, to feel comfortable to ask you those questions. Tell them, like, you know, there's no judgment. We expect people to make mistakes. We expect you to fail. And that's something I had to learn as well. My boss literally had to sit me down and say, Mia, you know, you're not Superwoman. You can't be people's crutch. You have to let them fail, especially when it comes to like getting new managers, because I had to turn the new managers once they were coming in. He's like, you know, you have to let them fail sometimes. And I'm like, well, what if they fail or I fail and then the company loses $1,500? He's like, we lost $1,500. But at the end of the day, you guys have learned and you won't make that mistake again. I guarantee you that. But it's something that we can work through as long as you communicate and let us know. He was like, do you think every business is just so strict, like they don't expect to lose money within a year, like they don't have that allotted and budgeted? I was like, you know, now that you say that, kind of makes sense. I'm just so tough, I'm hard on myself that I feel like I can't fail. But it's okay to fail. Thomas Edison failed so many times before he actually got it right with the light bulb, so why can't we fail 199 times before we actually get it right? You just have to.
Thomas Edison.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And we may lose our job.
There's different situations and everything. But also, as a manager, if you don't want them to fail, if someone needs help with something, you have to be hands-on and show them how to do it. It's different in every industry, but I can say in the hotel game, in order to be like a department head and to move up, you have to know how to do everything beneath you. Like, I wouldn't have been able to move up and do sales and operations if I didn't know how to work the front desk, if I couldn't work all three of the shifts, if I didn't know how to go in and help housekeeping. You know, we like to say we're hands-on, and we wouldn't ask someone to do something that we as a manager wouldn't do ourselves. I'm not going to ask you to go clog a toilet if it's not in your job responsibilities if I wouldn't go clog that toilet myself. It's all about respect. You have to show your employees that you respect them, and then in the end, they'll give respect to you as well. One thing I've seen, and I'm coming to learn, is that especially like the younger generation, they're not loyal to their job, they're loyal to people. They're loyal to managers and management. So saying that, like for example, I have a front desk employee who she's loyal to me. She's not loyal to our property owners. So if she's upset, I'm the first person that she comes to. If she wants to quit or anything like that, because she has quit before, if a manager did not have effective communication and she got upset, she quit. And so my owner literally came to me and was like, hey, will you go talk to her, tell her to come back, because I mean, I can try, but it's not going to be as effective as you because you are who she's loyal to. And if you ask her to come back, maybe she will, maybe she won't, but we hoping that she will come back because she knows, we know that she's here because of how you treat her and how you show her that we appreciate her, which everybody should do as well as part of feedback and guidance. Show your appreciation for your employees and your staff members. It doesn't always have to be monetary, like bonuses, and people like things in different ways. You know, you communicate with people differently. You can't talk to Sally Sue the same way that you talk to Molly. People perceive things differently. With some people, you might have to come more professional and strict, or other people, you might have to come a little more at like a personable friend level. You have to figure out each employee, their strengths, their weaknesses, how they communicate, and you have to put in that effort to be able to switch it up on each person. And some people might say, oh, you're fake, or you switch it up for different people. That's part of the job. That's part of being management. You have to be able to talk to everyone, not just one person or one just type of personality, because the workplace is becoming more and more and more diverse these days, whether it comes to age, race, appearances, everyone. You see there's more and more diversity and inclusion training. So you have to be able to communicate and communicate effectively. So that's good on that. And also, one great thing about effective communication when it comes to feedback is not only giving feedback, but receiving feedback. Like, when's the last time you've asked your employees or like done a survey about management? What are some good things management doing? What are some bad things management's doing? What needs to be changed? Like, you know, what do you like? What should they continue doing? Do you have any ideas or input that, you know, maybe you don't feel comfortable speaking with management, but you can write it down anonymously and give that idea if you don't feel comfortable. But how can you be a manager and be willing to grow if you can't receive feedback as well?
Right. Right.
You have to. That's very, very important. You don't want to be stubborn, and you don't want people to lose respect for you just because they feel like you don't listen and you're on top of the world. In addition, how else are you going to grow? Like, you always have to be willing to grow and to learn. Sometimes it might hit, it might be a little personable, but at the end of the day, you have to keep pushing, you have to keep moving. I tell people all the time, you know, you can't take everything so personal whenever it comes to business and things, but you can't help it. People are people, and so you have to find good, effective communication. I had a really, really bad thing when I first switched over to management. Have y'all heard of GroupMe? Like the app? It's an app where people can do group messages, kind of like an iPhone group message, but it's in an app. And so I would be really bad at communicating to the front desk team, and like our property owners were in this group too. If they did something wrong, I have the mindset, oh, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to get straight to it, let them know what they did wrong, how they need to fix it. Like, it just is what it is. It's business. Then our owner had to set me down and be like, Mia, even though you are right, the way you approached it was completely wrong. He was like, no one took it the way that you want to take it. He was like, you know, actually look at the message, you know, reflect. And if someone sent this to you, how would you feel? He's like, especially it's your day off, and then management comes at you, you know, sideways or says something so negative, how would you feel like reading that on your day off? He's like, you have to be considerate. I was like, I guess you're right. So I took a break from GroupMe for a good while, and if anyone ever had any questions, I feel like I needed to give them constructive criticism or feedback or something, I started telling them directly to their face or showing them how to do it instead of telling them. So if they're messing up something in the system at the front desk, I'll go up while they're working that shift, stand at the computer next to them, you know, do what they're doing, show them how I do it and everything and how to correctly do it, and just kind of be a little more sly with it. My owner told me that there is this rule that I actually do now. You give them 2 compliments and then you hit them with the negative. So for instance, we had this girl who works the front desk 3 to 11. The guests love her, she's very personable, people could talk to her for days and days on, but at the same time, when you're the only person working the front desk, you have to check people in. If there's a line building behind you, the other guests are going to get impatient. So we're like, okay, that's how we approach the situation, because you can't just be like, hey, you're talking too much. Like, you need to cut it out. You need to slow it down. You have to come at it at a different angle. So we sat her down, and he was like, so-and-so, you're really great at this shift. You're very energetic. The guests love you. You're doing great on the reviews. They love talking to you. The only thing is you get engaged with conversations sometimes a little bit too long at the check-in time. And some of the guests in line get impatient. So let's try to cut down on, you're welcome talk a little bit, but then just tell them to come back whenever you're not checking anyone in, and you continue to talk to them later or give them that information. And I was like, that's a smart, different way to approach it, as opposed to me. At that time, I just would have been like, hey, you got to stop talking too much. And that's just something that I had to learn, especially being young. Like I said, I'm only 26 years old. No one goes into a position doing everything perfectly. And as management, you shouldn't expect anyone to come into their role doing it perfectly. You always have to leave room for mistake and error and let them grow. Like, if you have that much expectation on someone coming in, they're going to be overwhelmed, and they're going to feel like they're never going to reach that finish line that you want them to reach. Because management is like coaching. You want to help everyone reach the finish line. They might not reach it at the same time. They might be in different positions. You might have to, do different trainings and things with them, but you want everyone to reach that finish line. Let's see what else. Besides effective communication, feedback, oh man. I would say a lot of people ask about like drama and stuff in the workplace and how to get into that. Like, if you go to that person directly, if you send things out like in a memo and do it like very general with the company, I feel like the best thing is to go ahead and nip it in the bud, especially when it's two employees, because I have seen it to where their feud spills out onto other employees and coworkers, and then people are taking sides, and it's hostility everywhere, and then the communication really gets jumbled up. So if there's a problem in the workplace, you want to try to nip it in the bud as soon as possible. A lot of times people voice their problems, and you don't really know it because you're not listening to them. But I always tell people, especially my staff, if you voice something to me, I feel like you want to change to be done. So I'm going to listen to you. Because I always be like, oh, I feel this way, but don't say anything, don't say anything, it'll be okay, it'll be fine. Like, no, it's not fine. You want all of your employees to be happy. You want to show them that you value them and that you respect their time. In addition to time, each employee has their own strengths and weaknesses. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that. You want to make sure that the correct people are in the correct meetings, the correct people are getting the correct emails. Like, don't waste Bob's time in the meeting about development when he shouldn't be there because he works down in sales or something. I don't know. Same thing with the hotel. Like, we have our 3 shifts, 7 to 3, 3 to 11, then 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. is kind of more administrative. You're doing system things. The 3 to 11, it's all about checking in guests, interacting with guests. And then 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. is the dead shift. You really don't see anyone. It's just computer stuff. So why would we take someone that has the best personality, they're super good at talking to people, and put them on the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift? That's asking for them to fail and then asking for us to fail as well, because that's not where they strive. That's not where they succeed. And then they're going to feel like they're not valued and appreciated because that's not what they want. You want to make sure that everyone is in the correct position and division that you want them to be in. You want to make sure that everyone's happy. If they have problems because, they're stressing themselves out because they're coming in to work 10, 15 minutes late because of something with their kids, is there something that we as a business can do to help that, to fix that? Like, is it easier if we move their work shift back 30 minutes or something? Sometimes it can be done. Sometimes it cannot be done. But anytime your employees are voicing a concern, at least listen to them and try to see if you can find solutions. Or do you want them to come with the problem and with some solutions. It kind of depends on you. What do you expect? What's your workplace culture? Because that's one thing about my boss I had to learn. Like, he'll be like, okay, you identified the problem, so what do you want me to do about it? Like, you didn't bring me any solutions, so what's your culture? Culture is a very important thing in the workplace, because you as a manager are being on the
your culture.
Your culture, the company, their mission statement. Are you with this? The company that they have in the building, is it more of a professional vibe, suit and tie, or is it more of a laid back, you can wear jeans, everyone's chit chatting throughout the day? It kind of just depends. Like for our hotel, the Burgundy, we're more dressy like this. Our front desk agents wear blazers. We get them uniforms because we want them to look very snazzy and classy. As opposed to our sister property Aloft, where it's targeted towards millennials and it's very vibey. So they don't provide uniforms for their front desk agents. They can come in wearing jeans. They can come in with their tattoos showing, piercings. They want loud, vibrant personalities. But you can't come into the Burgundy Hotel thinking that you're going to work your shifts looking like that. And you can't be mad because it's just each company has their different culture. They have their different standards and brand standards, as we would call it in the hotel world. And I know that's been a big topic with like millennials, where it comes to like hairstyles, like dreadlocks or colored hair, are braids professional and things like that. And I always say, think that depends, like I said, on the company, the look they're going for, the image. Like you can't be upset if you sign up for a job, they present their dress code. It's talking about the younger generation here. And you present them with the dress code, and then they come in and they decide they want to have bright green hair and think that management's going to be okay with it. Like, you have to be able to have that conversation with them and be like, hey, I understand you want to show your personality and everything. Maybe you can do it in a different way, but this is not our company culture. This is what you agreed to whenever you were hired on. It kind of just is what it is. Like, hate to just be mean and be rude, but there's so many different businesses and organizations out there these days, especially with the pandemic and how they're changing how people now are choosing to work from home, and they're being even more selective on where they want to work and benefits and things like that. Us as companies, we also can't waver on what we want. You can also teach people like computer systems and things like that, but you can't teach them personality. You can't teach them how to interact with guests or clients and always maintain those relationships. So you have to be able to stand your ground. And you, being on the management team, especially if you transition from a lower position, you are that role model. Even if you did used to come in with wild hair or this and that, once you make that transition, you have to make that transition. You have to be fully dedicated to it. And I know a lot of people had an issue with me kind of transitioning to my management position, but at the same time, I showed them what a manager is. I wasn't in my new position and still going to the front desk and acting like a front desk agent. It takes some change. It takes some adjustment. People don't always accept it overnight. But as long as you're respecting them and they're respecting you and you are doing your position, hopefully there shouldn't be any problems. But, people are human. People can be petty. They're going to try to stoop down to a low level and bring you down there, but don't let them do that. Continue to be that role model and to be a leader. You have to be a great leader. There's a podcast that I listen to by Manny Camper Stewart. It's called The Modern Manager, and it's really, really good and really effective on how to do things in the workplace and pinpoint things in the workplace these days with how things are advancing. Because, there's kind of old school management and then new school management. And so that's a really good resource if you guys want to check out her website or look into any of her podcasts. She talks about how to do effective communication, how to give and show respect, appreciation to your employees as well, all types of things. Holding people accountable for their actions. She has really good podcasts on diversity as well. Almost anything that you need in the workplace, she has it on there.
What's her name again?
Manny, M-A-M-I-E. Mamie, then Keffer, Knfer, Stewart, Stewart. Her website is mamieks.com. You're welcome. So that's a podcast that really helped me. I mean, it was months on end, but once I sat down and listened to this podcast, I was like, okay, this really puts some things into perspective for me. And a lot of times I had to realize, no, it's not the employees. Sometimes it's me. So I tell people all the time, I'm not perfect. I'm learning, I'm growing, and that's why I always take feedback so that I can grow with my employees as well and show them that we're all in this thing together. You always want your employees to feel like they're engaged and involved and that you're investing in them. Always ask them, what's your plan? Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to go? And how can I help you get there? If there's free trainings or trainings that you guys pay for, make sure they know about it. Make sure they have resources to get where they want to be and where they want to get, especially if you want to keep them in the organization. A lot of people, groom people, mold them and shape them up to where they want to be in different positions. So always be on the lookout for people and just make sure that they have different resources available to them. Because once people see that you're invested in them, it's going to make them want to invest in your company even more. And like they say, happy wife, happy life, happy employees, happy business, great business.